Welcome everyone, it's Karen from Close to My Heart, and today we're going to do another process video. Before we get started though, I want to, as always, remind you to like and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube and turn on those bell notifications so you will make sure you never miss a Close to My Heart video. Today we're going to be scrapbooking masculine. So let's take a look at what I brought down to the video studio to use on our page today. You can see I've got a lot of masculine looking papers and colors here. I plan to scrapbook this, and before I tell you about the story, I wanted to show you the sketch I made for myself. And I have to admit, it was inspired by something I saw years and years ago. I don't know if you guys do this, but quite often when I see something that I'm inspired by, maybe just the design of a page, I'll just sketch it down in a little sketchbook that I keep in my purse. And this is one that has been around forever and I've never used it. And I think the idea here is, maybe I should bring it over to, yeah, I think you can see that a lot better. So the idea is that you cut your photo into squares, and then that is mounted on other squares. And the page I saw was a little different than this, but I did like the general idea of the page and sort of drew my own take on that. And I thought we'd use that today because I actually do have a square photo of my grandsons. The story on this page is we were building our house. This was about 5 years ago, and we were just about done building the house, and we were there just looking at a few things, and I was there with my daughter and a couple of her kids. These are her boys, and we lost them. We couldn't find them anywhere, and we ended up finding them giggling. Thank heavens they started giggling, because we thought everywhere. We found them in the bottom of the linen closet hiding. And so I wrote down the story of that. And do you ever find yourself, I do, quite often I'll find myself with one photo that's just like a story all of its own. And that's the case on this page. I only have this one photo of that experience. And actually, if I showed other photos of looking at the house that day, I think it sort of would take away from this photo. I do tons of 2-page scrapbooking in my books, but every once in a while I do a single page too when there is a reason for one. So this one I think is a great reason for one. This is a 4x4 photo, and I want to cut it into 9 pieces. I could have cut it into 16 pieces and doing 1-inch things, but let me tell you why I did the 9 and how I made that happen. When I kind of took a ruler and just grabbed it and looked through where things were going to fall if I cut it into inches, and I found I was going to be cutting some cute little faces in half, and I really didn't want those faces cut in half at all. So then I continued to measure and realized if I did 1¼ inch squares, it would land about where I wanted, so I needed to cut 1/4 inch off of my photo. So I did that. I cut 1/4 inch off the top, and I cut 1/4 inch off the side, and that left me with a 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 photo, excuse me. So I cut that down into those 1¼ inch squares, mounted it on a larger 4x4 pieces white daisy and a piece of black. I really liked the black. I knew I was going to try and use these cute Hey Handsome papers, and so I knew I was going to want to bring in this black and white. Also, this is Staid. Staid has on green, and the green in Hey Handsome isn't exactly, although I don't think it looks horrible together, but I knew because of that I would just want to accent a little bit with this green and not make it a main color and have it just feel like those greens didn't work as well together. So as I looked at my photo, I thought, I think I'm going to really concentrate on the blacks and whites in this kit and see where we go from there. So I did do a little thinking before I came down to the video studio about that. I also typed my journaling, knowing that I was gonna, based on what I had sketched, have a little space here at the bottom that I could add my journaling. So I'll cut that into strips and add it at the bottom. So this is where we're starting, but I wanted to print a second photo so I could show you the thought behind how I cut that. If you did a 4x6 photo, you could cut it like into 2-inch squares. You can just think about which number your photo can divide into either direction if it's not square. I hope that made sense. Okay, so let's go over here and get started on building a page. I also did a little bit of cutting of squares because I thought, gosh, they're going to be bored to tears watching me just cut squares for this sketch that I did. So you can see here that a lot of the squares that I cut came right from the papers, but as I cut those, I cut like 4 of each paper. I thought I want more patterns than just those patterns that are there, those 6 patterns. In fact, this one that just has all of these cute logos, masculine looking logos, didn't cut up as well as the rest. And so I don't even know if I'm going to use that one. We'll see. But what I did do is our Picture My Life cards, which are the pocket cards that coordinate with Hey Handsome. I grabbed some of those, and I'll show you some of the ones I chose that made sense to me to cut down. So some of them are titles, some of them are journaling squares, but you can see like this one's a perfect one to cut down. So I cut a few squares out of that, two-sided. And I just picked a bunch of them that I thought like this one would be perfect, cut down into little squares. And I thought I'd show you this one too, because this one maybe didn't make as much sense when you first look at it. Let's see if I can find it. Well, I did this one for sure. Anything that was just a fun pattern, I cut down just to see if I might want to use it, like this one. This one I could have cut some off the corners. I didn't end up choosing that one. Maybe we'll add it later, I don't know. This one though I did. And you can see on this side, it's a horizontal pattern, this view, but I have all this space in here. That's just a cute gray speckled pattern. And on the back, it's a white speckled pattern. So I just sort of strategically cut squares out of that one that I thought would be great. You can kind of see them mixed in right here. So that's where all of these squares came from. I'm sure I have way more than I will ever need. But I thought we'd start out by just creating the square part of our layout. And because this is so I guess, busy with pattern, I want it on something to rest on that will help those stand on their own and not fight with anything. So I think I'll put them on White Daisy. And on this photo, what I did is I put it together and I put them about an 1/8 inch apart, but I just eyeballed it. So what I think I will do, instead of cutting down a piece of paper and hoping that I've measured correctly, I think I'm going to just build these squares onto a piece of White Daisy and then cut it down. In my sketch, I made 6 rows by 5 rows. So we're going to see how that looks if we need more rows. But that's what I think I'll start with. And I'm just going to move this over to the side and move a bunch of things out of the way and build that piece that's going to go on our page to begin with. So I'm going to grab one of those White Daisy papers. I also brought paprika, harbor, and black, and of course white, and then the things in the kit. So those are the things I brought down to use, and I think we will just set them to the side and start building squares on this piece of White Daisy and see where it goes. I'm going to take one that I feel like is a little bit larger pattern, I think, to start in the corner, because when you put one, if you put something that's a big pattern in a, like this one, like if you'll see what I mean, like if you compare it to some of these other patterns that are smaller, I think that you would only see that, but with it being in the corner, it kind of brings your eye to that corner and we'll move from there. So we'll just see what happens after that. I'm just grabbing random patterns to create this top row, and then we'll have to probably be a little more strategic about what we choose so that nothing ends up the same pattern right next to each other. I really like that. I like that this is off-centered so that I'm seeing some of each of the squares around it. So I think I'm ready to cut this down and then put this on. So I'm just going to take my trimmer and trim this down so that I've just got a white edge, just that 1/8 inch around like I've got up here. And let's see here. Just eyeballing this to see where we land. And I think it's probably going to come out about right. Yep. Now I just need to do the same thing here. Okay, I've got that ready. I think I'm ready to put my photo on. So I think I'm going to add some adhesive and place this in the center. And then now that we've got this put together, I think I can kind of start to build the rest of the page. So I'm going to bring my sketch back in where it's easy for me to see. In my sketch, I kind of left more space around those than I cut down. So I think I'm going to need some more paper behind that. Let me see if I want to color, if I want to stick with white. I think that's way too much of the paprika pop. Let's see how Harbor looks. I don't mind that too much, but I need a paper that's going to go back here, actually kind of like the harbor. So I'm going to grab a couple of those pattern papers and see which one I like. And we'll see if the harbor's going to work. I'm just going to lay it about like it's going to show on a page. I don't like the harbor against the harbor. Definitely don't want the green because it's too much of the wrong green. I definitely don't think I want that. It's way too much happening with this and this together, and I think the same is going to be true of the words. Yep. Let's see if I can find this tweed that I like so well. Here we go. And I've got a stripe in here too we can try. Here's the tweed. Okay, I like the tweed a lot, but maybe not with harbor. Let's see about the stripes. I think the tweed is calling my name. It is my favorite. And I think I'm going to like it better with maybe white. Yep. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut the zip strip off this and commit to using this kind of as the base. I think I may mount it on something underneath that, maybe black or white. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the zip off this so that I can start designing with it, and maybe cut it down a ½ inch so that it can just sit on a base. I find that when I'm working with a sketch like I am today, if there's a main part of the page that most things are built on, kind of like this square right here, I like to get this square pretty much built before I start gluing things down too much. So I think what I want to do is figure out about how this would fall if I left about an inch border around there. That would leave me that room at the space for my journaling. So I like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and put this down. I'm just eyeballing about an inch there. And then I'll do the same when I cut it. All right, I'm liking that a lot. And I also brought the sticker sheet down. Remarkable, cute, but I don't know if it fits my photo for a title. Like father, like son, I definitely will save for another page. That is not, these are brothers. Oh, there's a brothers. Let's do brothers and see how that looks. I think I'll put this on foam tape. I am a foam tape lover of all things foam tape, because I just think it adds so much to a page to have differences in height. So I love it when a title is popped up, because I think it makes the page feel, or the title feel like something you're really noticing. And you may have noticed that I even popped part of that photo when I put that photo together. I'm going to get a skinnier one so it'll fit on this next part here. There we go. And I'm just going to see how that's looking. That's cute, brothers. I'm going to need some room for my journaling, which will fit right through here. I think that will be perfect. And I think I just need to decide what color is going to go behind this. Maybe I'll try a white and a black and see which one I like. I don't mind that. Let's see what it looks like with a white. I actually like how that just lit everything up, but I do want a little black like I've got here. So what if I put some black behind there? Okay, that I really like. So if we made layers that looked like this, I think I'd be really happy. So I'm just going to keep this white here. Add this. I am a very, I tend to layer a lot on my pages, which makes them pretty heavy pages, but I love the look of all the layers. And you could always cut the center out of paper, if you know what I'm talking about. That's called gutting. Ooh, I have two pieces here. And save that center to use in other places. Okay, I've got this, and I think I need to figure out what size this white piece is. It it looks like it's about 8 3/4. So I want to go just an eighth bigger maybe. So 10 by 8 7/8. Let's try that. And if I like that black edge, I think I'm going to love the black edge. Haha. I think I did okay on the measuring. I like that tiny black edge. Just helps it be a little more defined. Okay. All right, I'm liking where we are right now. I've got brothers. Are there any other stickers I want to use? Maybe funny, because these guys thought they were so funny doing this little hiding trick. I'm going to put funny, then brothers. Put my title down. And if you watch very many of my process videos here, you're going to notice something that I probably will end up doing here as well. I usually tend to, on a single page, embellish in a cascade from corner to corner because I think it helps your eye follow the story. So we'll see how that goes. I did bring the Hey Handsome embellishments down here that have all kinds of boyish, masculine looking things in them. So I'm going to see about those. And I also brought this white gloss spray thinking it might be fun if it looked like there were paint splatters on things. I think I'm going to actually do that. I think I'm going to do a little bit of white gloss spray here and hope that I don't make a mess because it's easy to make a mess. This stuff dries really quickly, which is really nice when you're scrapbooking. Okay, I'm just adding some paint splatters on my page here a little bit. It dries really quickly. But it also gets everywhere, so you have to clean it fast. And usually I have a big box that I spray it in. So I'm going to let that sit and dry for a minute and maybe work on some of this. Let me grab my embellishments and see what I have in this bag. One side of these embellishments is a matte black and the other side is a shiny black, which is fun. You could choose either side. The matte side has some etching on some of these, which I really like. So far, I don't think any of these work. Maybe glasses, since I was looking for them. That's part of the story. This is a little crooked. I'm going to see if I can straighten it out just a little. There we go. That's cute. Like that. Maybe some stars kind of making their way. Like I said, cascading. It's probably my very favorite pattern to use when I'm embellishing. I'm just grabbing stars and seeing where they look cute. This is a little X. That's cute. Maybe, ooh, maybe an arrow would be cute pointing. To the glasses, nope, to the brothers. That's cute. We'll maybe put that there. And I'm liking that little cascade effect. Once my base page is dry, I might add some more on there too, but I think this looks really cute. Maybe I want another one of those X's. I really liked that X over there. And I tend to use glue dots on acrylic most of the time to put things down because I think it holds them really well. You could use regular adhesive too. And I'm just going to start adding these. I have before used my just my regular adhesive. I'm just trying to make sure I've got them all on the matte side. And a lot of times I'll use a glue dot like I am right now, and it'll be a slightly wider than the embellishment that I'm putting it on, and you can just fold those under. That's all I'm going to do. Is just put this on a couple of points of the star and then use my fingers to just tuck it under. Okay, I think I got all those stuck on there. Yep. And my page looks like it's about dry, so I'm just going to play with it for a second and see where I like the splatters, where I like them showing. I like this one because I've got a big splat right there and a couple splats right there, and that kind of is the same direction as my embellishments. So I'm going to commit to that and go ahead and put that on. You can tell there some of those bigger splats weren't quite dry, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine to put this on here. Okay. I'm really liking how this is looking. I think it's turning out really fun. I like that all my color is mostly in the middle and this is more subtle. And I did bring some journaling to add, so I'm going to add that, and maybe we'll want to add a few more stars around the base again. So while I am cutting, I'll come over here to this close-up camera so you guys can see. Whoop, that is not my journaling. Let's find the piece that has my journaling. Right there. Okay, so when I cut my journaling, I actually like small journaling, and sometimes I handwrite. Quite often when I do these process videos, I print so I have it ready to go so that it's easy for you guys to see that without me sitting and writing during the video. But I like skinny strips. Some people like wider strips. There's no right or wrong, but what I usually do is put it in my trimmer, scooch it in there so it's right up against the cutting canal where I can see that blade's gonna run. You can kind of see my top line of journalings right there. And then all I do, whoops, that one didn't cut very well. There we go. And all I do is I just scooch it over so that I can line it up on a line. And I don't even think this is going to need to be a 1/4 inch. Just depends on how big of a printing you do. And you can always hand journal on strips too. Just cut strips and write on them. But I love how small that is. And we'll see how that fits on my page. It allows me. All right, I think I've got these all cut, and let's just snip off the ends and glue those on. And I'll use this pad that I've got in front of me. Let's just go back to the camera where you can see from further away. There we go. And I'm going to grab my scissors and lay these out on my page and then see how I want them placed, and then we'll put them down. I may want to put some on that white area. I like it there. In fact, when my grandkids come to the house, I have so many scrapbooks, and they love it when they come to grab a scrapbook and sit down on the couch with me and look through it together. And even the little ones will look at a picture and say, I remember that Christmas, Grandma, or that was when this happened. And I'll go, yeah, you're right. And that story's already right on the page for them. So when they grow up and maybe don't remember those little details, they're going to be preserved for them. And I think that's so important. I love that it overlaps onto the white and to the tweed. So I think I'm going to go with that and just start putting them down. Another thing that I do quite often is when I've got a page laid out, like my embellishments I had laid out, and I was just picking them up one at a time, as you could see, and gluing them down so I didn't forget where they went. But sometimes I'll even take a picture with my phone really quick when I've got a whole bunch of things laid out and not glued down yet. And that way I can look back at my phone and see where I had put things that I liked them. And I mentioned this mat. These are skinny little strips, so when you use adhesive on them, it overlaps. And this all-purpose mat that I've got underneath me is, I never craft without this. You can wipe anything off of it. Even that paint that I was using will just wipe right off. Those ended up a little higher than I started with, but I'm okay. I'm all right with that. Having that journaling on the white and just overlapping over onto there. Maybe not my original plan, but it's done now, right? And I still like it. I like how it turned out. But I do think I want to add maybe 1 or 2 more little stars here so that that cascade continues a little bit further onto my page. Maybe not. Maybe I like it better without. I think I'm going to leave it without, actually. So I feel good about where my page has landed, and it was a quick, easy page. I did cut those squares ahead of time, obviously, and I have lots of them left that I could use if I wanted to do a companion page. Obviously, I'm not going to because one photo tells my story here. But I think that it would be great. You know what? I'm looking at this thinking, I brought a stamp set down. Why not see if we can use, this is the scrapbooking stamp set that matches Hey Handsome, but you could use, you know, whatever. I'm thinking this little piece right here, this, it's kind of a border, might be fun on here, but I want it to not overpower anything. So let's see what I can do here. I think I want it to poke out. I might do a little moving here. Let's see if I can create a little corner action here that help my cascade. I'm just going to use this stamp and add it to a block. And I brought a few different stamp pads that were in the kit. Trying to decide if I want to, I don't think I want black because these are black and I want it to stand out against those. I think I could go with either of these. If I do it in these corners, I think I'm going to try paprika because I like that there's no paprika near where I'm about to stamp it. And I'm going to grab a sponge because you can just ink up a stamp, but I'm looking at this thinking it looks a little distressed and weathered, and I'm going to see if I can do that with my stamp. And this might be a fun new technique for you. I'm just going to do a little masking since I've already glued everything together and this was kind of an afterthought. I'm just going to use a sponge to get the ink from my stamp pad and only ink a few little spots on here so that it just is very subtle. Need another scratch piece of paper. I think I've got something around here somewhere I can use, maybe right there. I'm just gonna put that down and see how that looks. Hopefully it's gonna look weathered. Yes, I love that. Can you see? I'll bring this over. Actually, let's just do this close up. Why not? You can see it's just a little bit of color there, which I really like. And I'm gonna just add a little more. There's always a way, I have lots of afterthoughts, I don't know about you guys, to add a little something without having to take your whole page apart. And I'm really liking how this is turning out, that it's just very light and distressed looking. I'll put a little bit right up here too. I love that. Now if I add my star back on, where did I have it? I think right there. Nope, that was a different one. This one goes up here. I think this one goes down here. This is when I would have wished I had a little photo of this, right? Okay, I can feel where it was right there. Aha, I love that underneath that star, and I am going to do it up here at the top corner too, just to keep that sort of cascaded look going. And I think it'll be the perfect little finishing touch here. And I'm glad I thought of it because this is a great technique to just add a little bit of ink to a stamp that you want to have that distressed feel with a sponge instead of inking it up. And then you'll have some parts that have a lot more ink and some that have less and some that have none. Awesome. Okay, I just got to put this last star back on. You can feel where it came from. There we go. Awesome. Love that little touch of stamping. I love stamping on my pages because you can customize things to what you want when you stamp. You've got colors and patterns and letters and all kinds of things to choose from that aren't pre-printed or done for you. So it really just becomes your page then. And I'll just bring it back over here so you can take one last look. I'm really happy with how that looks. I'm glad I have the story here, and I'm ready to put that in my book. I hope you enjoyed your time with me today. I sure enjoyed my time with you and sharing a story about two of my little grandsons and creating a page that tells that story.